In this activity, we're going to learn the names of some of the major deserts of the world. We're not going to learn every desert of the world, just the major ones. So if you want to add others, if you know of a desert that I don't mention, you're welcome to add it. But these are the biggest deserts of the world. And we're going to use some colors. It doesn't really matter what colors you use. You don't have to use the same colors that I do. And there's really not a significance to the color. Oftentimes in my drawings we'll use a color code. And so it's really important that you use the same colors that I do, and because we're going to, draw all the digestive system parts a certain color or something like that. But on this one, it doesn't really matter. You can use the colors you'd like to use. I also recommend some kind of a very fine line ink pen to make a couple lines. They're going to go off. We're going to point to some deserts, and these are going to show up much better than a regular pencil or colored pencil. So I think we're going to start from the left and kind of work across like this. Start in North America and then go down to South America. And this is about as close as I can get without losing good focus. But I think we can see the deserts are going to be in here, and I think it's large enough you'll be able to see them. So I'm going to start with orange. You can use something else if you'd like to. And we're going to put in the desert that most people in America are most familiar with. When we think of a desert in America, we think of those big saguaro cactuses. They're tall and they have the arms, the very typical things you see on a poster or an advertisement or something about deserts. It's that kind of cactus. And they live in this desert, and that is the Sonoran Desert. And so the Sonoran Desert goes, you see that little thing there below California, Baja California? Most people say it stretches down there into that little peninsula. And let me say at the outset that if you compare several maps of these deserts, you'll find that probably the maps will be different. There will be places that are included or not included. Not everybody's agreed exactly where the outlines of the deserts are, but ours are going to be small enough. It's not going to matter. We're not going to be that exact. So we're going to go up over the top like this into where California would be, up over into where Arizona is, and New Mexico, over in this area. I know the states aren't all drawn in, but just kind of like that, make like a U, go down like this, something like that. That's about where this desert is. And it's called the Sonoran. So I'm going to take my pen, point to it, and then I might actually use pencil for these labels in case I make a mistake. You have to write very small. Sonoran is S-O-N-O-R-A-N. Sonoran. And then I'm not going to write desert. All of these things are the something desert, or the Great Basin Desert, and the Chihuahuan Desert. So since we know they're all deserts, we'll assume that it's the Sonoran Desert. We'll just write Sonoran. Right above the Sonoran, we have a little smaller desert right here. Now, there's no one line across there. You don't go to this desert and see like a fence saying you're now entering the Mojave Desert. The reason that they consider these separate deserts is because there are some plant species and animal species that are unique to this area or this area. And so because we see these changes, there's a different kind of rock or plant or animal that lives in just one of them, they'll say, well, maybe we should call it by a different name. It's a different desert. I'm going to make it a little bit different color here so you can see it on film. If I was going to make it yellow, well, I guess you can see yellow. Alright, so this is the Mojave Desert. And it is spelled M-O-J-A-V-E. Mojave. So the J is a H sound. I remember learning the name of this desert when I was about in 4th grade or so, and we were still working on handwriting. And for some reason I remember handwriting this over and over again. I would practice my letters. This is one of the words. I just took a liking to this word for some reason. I even remember writing it on the car windows when the windows would get steamy or icy in the winter. I'd take my finger. Just a funny Mojave Desert story from Mrs. McHenry. Okay, then below here, right about here, we're going to make a desert that goes down into Mexico. I'm going to use red. You can use what you want to. And we're going to just kind of go like this. Now again, this isn't like a precise outline. If you want a nice close-up map, you can do that on your own. This map is just too small. Oftentimes deserts have a wiggly edge to them because they go around a mountain or something like that, but a red blob is all we're going to get in this map. This is the Chihuahuan Desert, just like the little dog, a Chihuahua. It's named after a district, an area of Mexico called Chihuahua. And it is C-H-I, looks like Chihuahua, H-U-A-H-U-A-N, the Chihuahuan Desert. And then our fourth desert is going to be the Great Basin. Now we need to leave a little space between the Sonora and the Mojave, just a little bit here, and then make the Great Basin kind of like in here. I'm making it brown. You can make it whatever color. It's above the Chihuahuan a little bit, kind of something like that. And again, these are really, really approximate. This is the Great Basin. Basin is B-A-S-I-N. And on this side, let's put some mountains in, little V's, upside down V's. The Great Basin lies between the Rocky Mountains. This would be the Rockies. They go all the way up through Alaska, actually. And on the other side here, we've got some mountains. This would be the Sierra Nevadas. So the Great Basin lies kind of between two mountain ranges here. So those are the four major deserts of North America. And let's go down to South America. And we're only going to put in two down here because a lot of South America is very wet and hot and moist. Right, it's the rainforest area because the equator goes somewhere like this. So a lot of South America is very wet. But down at the bottom, it's dry. And right along here, it's dry. This is Peru. I always think it looks like kind of a fish or dolphin diving down. And there's a very dry desert that goes along here. This is the country of Chile, that really long, skinny country. And the desert actually laps over a little bit into this, like that. And there's actually some mountains that run down here. The Andes Mountains. And that is partly why this desert is there. Because we get this, what they call a rain shadow effect. The warm, moist air from this area, rainforest area, blows this direction like this, and it has to go up over the mountains. And as it goes up, 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 it cools, drops all its rain, and when the air comes down on the other side of the mountain, there's no moisture in it. And so you get this desert area. Now at the bottom, oops, we've got to label it. Let's label it the Atacama. Okay, it's going to be A-T-A-C-A-M-A, Atacama. And it is a hot desert. But down here at the tip of South America, we have a cold desert. We'll make it blue because it's cold down here. So, deserts don't have to be hot. To be a desert, all you need is to have very, very little rainfall. So technically, Antarctica and places near the North Pole, technically they're deserts. They don't get a lot of rainfall either, but there's not places that are called the something desert. So we're not going to label them. We're just going to know that they're dry, but we're not going to label them as deserts. Okay, so this is the Patagonian desert. Patagonian. Or sometimes people just call it Patagonia. That area is called Patagonia. So you could write Patagonia also. Now let's move up to Africa. And of course, Africa is the continent with the largest desert, the Sahara. Let's go ahead and put that in. The Sahara starts over here. You see this little country that looks like it has stair steps? Okay, that's kind of the beginning of the Sahara. Goes up like this and down into this country like that. Okay. And then it doesn't go all the way to the coast. Leave the coast uncolored because there is a temperate strip there where you actually have enough moisture. It's not a desert. It's not a rainforest either, but it's not technically a desert. Go across like this. Oops. And then the desert goes all the way to the edge of the Red Sea there. All the way down into Sudan here. This big one is Sudan. Sudan is like as large as half the US. And then this is still desert up here through Egypt and Sinai. It's called something different, so we'll just leave that as the Sahara. And then see, we'll label that. Sahara, S-A-H-A-R-A. And then we have a whole area in the middle with rainforest. It's very, very wet. At the bottom we have desert again, a little bit. Not as much as at the top. Right here, this is Namibia, and we have a little tiny strip desert along the coast. Kind of reminds you of the Atacama. Got a long, skinny desert right there. And that is the Namib, located in Namibia. Namib, just like it sounds. And then we have the Kalahari, which you've probably heard of. Kalahari is a little bit in Namibia, and then it laps over, goes down to South Africa. And over here like this, about kind of something like that. And I'm going to label it down here like this. K-A-L-A-H-A-R-I. Kalahari. And then we'll go up to Europe, but there's really not much in Europe, about nothing in Europe. There's a tiny little dry spot in Spain like this, another one here, a couple little tiny places, but Europe is the continent that basically doesn't have any deserts. There's also a few listed. If you go to Wikipedia and you see the list of deserts, I think they list one tiny one in Ukraine or something, but essentially Europe doesn't have deserts. And then let's go back over to the Middle East here. And we can color all of the Arabian Peninsula here. This is just desert, 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 more desert. Maybe a little around the coast. The coastlines are maybe not deserty. They're probably still fairly dry, but this whole interior is just one giant desert. And it's called the Arabian Desert. And then there's some very tiny deserts there. Let's just write Middle East, and then use a colon, meaning as follows. 2 dots or colon. And let's write names of a couple of deserts that you may actually hear about. Some of them are fairly famous. The Negev, Negev, that is in Israel. It extends out, I think, a little bit, but it's kind of in the land of Israel. And then, I'm just going to use a little dot. This is going to be very tiny indeed, right kind of the top of the, like here, a little tiny green dot, something like that. It's not very accurate. Then there's the Judean Desert, Judaean, I believe. And again, it'd be just a dot right kind of along the coast here. It's in Israel. Mostly there, just a little tiny red dot. And then we have, Sinai. Sinai Desert, Sinai. Let me make this purple. And this is right there, that little triangle thing between Egypt and Arabia. Right there, that's the Sinai Desert. That little triangle right there. And then we have the Syrian Desert. What color I have left? I'll make it brown. The Syrian Desert is basically everything here above the Arabian Desert. Syria over into Iraq a little bit like this. Just make it have a brown area above the Arabian Desert. And I'll put a brown dot down here, and you can, whatever color you're using, just make a little note there. And that's the Syrian. Oh, sorry, there's Syrian Desert. And then if we go up to Asia, we've got some large cold deserts. The Gobi Desert is the most famous desert in Asia, probably. And it is the bottom half of Mongolia. This area right here is Mongolia. This is China. This is Mongolia. And we do from kind of Mongolia down into China here. So the top part of it can be kind of a cold desert. I think there's parts of the Gobi though that do get hot. I've seen some pictures of some sand dunes that look pretty toasty. So this is the Gobi, G-O-B-I. And then we have, just to the west, we've got the Taklamakan. And it's kind of, right in here. See these 2 tiny countries right here? These are all the stands are. Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, all the little stands. It's kind of right in here somewhere. And that is the, maybe I'll just make the line go up like this. And I can write it up here. Taklamakan, just like it sounds. T-A-K-L-A, Takla, M-A-K-A-N, Taklamakan. It's just English, it's hard to spell. These words aren't so bad. And then the last one that we're going to do is actually a few more, like there's the Kizilkum. We're just going to do the Karakum, and that is in Turkmenistan, which is I'll just make it orange again. It's this country right here. In fact, you could even I'll take some blue or something. If you color this shape, you see there's like a I don't know what it is, a letter F without a little upside down L or something. That's the Caspian Sea. And here's the Black Sea. It kind of helps us know what's water. So Turkmenistan is right here next to the Caspian Sea. And the desert is a great portion of that right there. And that's the Karakum. K-A-R-A-K-U-M. And then let's go down to Australia. So all this is tropical rainforest. But the center of Australia is very dry. And we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to label 5 deserts. There's actually a few other names smaller, but we're just going to go with these, kind of the top 5 here. And let's see, I'm going to start with the Great Victoria Desert down here in the bottom. There's actually, take a different color. We're going to put this middle desert in right here. Put kind of a thing, maybe shaped kind of like a guitar pick or like a rounded triangle right here. Alright, and then let's go around it down like this. Something like that. And then above it, I'm gonna make one that goes like this. Something like that. These are very approximate, but it gets us close to the right area. So this is the Great Victoria. Victoria, probably named after Queen Victoria, I'm guessing. And this one in the middle, the red one, this is called the Gibson Desert. Gibson. And the one on the top is called the Great Sandy Desert. Great Sandy. I guess there's a lot of sand there. And there's a little part here, it's called the Little Sandy Desert. And these all have kind of wiggly lines. If you want to see them, you can look at a real map and see how the edges go. Those are pretty rough. And then there's 2 more. There's one on the top. Looks like it's got a thing off it like this. And this is the Tanami. T-A-N-A-M-I. And then there's the Simpson Desert. Last one here. Let's see. You can use any color. I guess green kind of gives the wrong impression. It looks like there's something growing there. Yeah, I'll use pink. And this one has some wiggly edges. I'll go ahead and make the edges wiggly. If you want to know exactly where they wiggle, you can consult a better map. And so this is the Simpson. Simpson. So it's kind of like just one huge desert in the middle, but we have these certain areas. Again, there will be something about that area that makes it a little different from the rest, and so it'll get a particular name. So if you want to add some smaller ones, you can. Wikipedia actually has a list of deserts. If you just go to an internet search engine and you type in list of deserts, you'll find a list of all the deserts, and at least you know their names, and then you can take that name, put it back into the search engine, and then it'll give you some information where it's located and things like that, and then you can add it to the map if you'd like to.